And a good day, everybody. John Henderson Pierre back looking at Red's Wicked Apple Ale. Refreshing hard ale, 8%. Gets an okay score on Beer Advocate. The bros haven't reviewed it. It's a fruit and vegetable style brew. I picked this up today because I'm having some pork chops with some white rice with smothered pork chops with gravy. Take a look. It's the gravy. So, yes. So, figured it'd pair well with this than just any beer. Scott off now, then just a hard liquor, then maybe a malt liquor, a high gravity beverage. But 8%, Take a whiff of this. You see the look of the beverage right here. Sitting outside on this beautiful day. Ronald J. Terrio and his daughter recently did a review of the cranberry. The Reds Wicked has been popping up, been around last year and a half so. I never was a fan of buying these things, but a friend of mine the other night asked me to sample this at 8%. Again, I don't pay attention to these hard ciders or these root beers or whatever. I just don't pay much attention. But she had me sample it, and I, gave me a try, and I liked it. So I said, okay, I'll buy it today. And like I said, I'm pairing it with my pork chops and my smothered pork chops and white rice. On to the taste. Had this in the fridge. Put it in the freezer. Excuse me. I got this. You could definitely taste the apples. There's some booze to this. The 8%. Maybe not. You don't taste it immediately, but within time it'll come. But the flavor's there. As I said, I did a review on one of my first beginning videos. I did one of the Red's Apple Ale. That was 5%, and I was like, wasn't a fan of it because you barely taste anything. There was very little booze in it. And within the last 20 years, we've seen this. You can only could do so many beer styles out there, and everyone is doing an IPA, everyone's doing a stout, everyone's doing a pale ale or a coffee style. Everyone's doing a Helles Doppelbock. You can only do so many styles out there in terms of beer, a lager. You need to come up with something. So within the last 10, 15 years, we've been seeing a lot of these hard ciders, Mike's Hard Lemonade. 10 years, I'll go back maybe 20 years. We're going to start with Mike's Hard Lemonade. It came out the scene 20 years ago. So, all the rage of that, Um, let's go back further than that. Let's go back 1989 or in the mid 80s. The Seagram wine coolers, which maybe to me, these things remind me a lot of how popular those were, or the, Bartles and James. And then you had Zima, remember that, a malt beverage that had some fruit flavors to it. If I'm correct. Um, then you had Mike's Hard Lemonade, which was quite popular. So all those same styles, those fruity, you know, boozy type of drinks, say they put the categories as beer, but it's not. It's really a cooler, an alcoholic cooler or alcoholic, it's called a fruit. How can I describe it? Maybe adult alcohol beverage. I don't know how to call it. I can't call them beers or ciders, whatever. I can't call them beers. I can't call them champagne can wine coolers. Maybe whatever the term people like to call those. Alcoholic fruit beverage. I don't know. Then later on, we've gotten into the Angry Orchard. We've gotten into the hard ciders and whatnot, which have grown in popularity. Um, which they've done very well. But now, last year or maybe the year before, it really started. You saw the rise of Not Your Father's Root Beer, and that really became probably one of the more successful um, beers really of last year. That really kind of really took off in 2015. I mean, just skyrocketed and did tons of business. Then you had many breweries began to copy that formula. They did a hard root beer, did a hard ginger ale, did a um, hard soda. But my thing has always been with these things is that, and I'm sure a lot of people like them, but some of them just don't have the kick. When I tried the Not Your Father's root beer, I just like it's very sweet and it really tastes more root beer than I can barely feel a buzz to it. It's just not there. And but you know even I that tried the hard soda. Now I'm wondering if this is sort of a response to the success of the Limerita by Bud Light, which came out with the Limerita and the Starrita, which did enormous business for them. I mean, just really took off like wildfire. And those came on the scene. It's going back with maybe 2008, 2009, I believe. My dates, my years could be wrong, but those things just did just an enormous amount of business. But the Not Your Father and not and the hard sodas have a place for some. People like, hey, I want something easy, something not too boozy. I love root beer. Those out there. I love soda, but I want something that's nice and good, but I don't want all the alcohol. And maybe those beverages provide that. But for me, it's just if you want some little booze, you want to mix something with your root beer or your ginger ale, throw in some vodka. If you want to mix something with your soda, hard soda, throw in a little bourbon or whiskey. I don't know. You want something hardcore, but there's a market out there for it. People like it. So getting back to this, the 8% it's enjoyable. I don't say it's great, but it's enjoyable. I think I think that's probably the biggest seller for this. Why these things have done very well recently within the last year or so is the fact that it's 8% alcohol by volume, and you can drink two of these and you get a nice buzz. The 5% was very very weak. I mean, really weak to me. But that's just my view of it. So I'm gonna give this thing. It's going well, matching well with this pork chops, and I think something pork. You want to do some ribs, something with this would be a good pairing with that with this beverage here. So, and Miller looks like they got a winner in their hands here. So, anyway, um, okay score for me. I'll give it a 7.5. Not bad, it's not terrible, it's right there, but 7.5 seems to be very fair for this one. So, if you think I'm crazy and insane and out of my element to give this beer a 7.5 score, leave your comments. Leave your comments on the bottom of my screen. So I'm gonna enjoy my rest of my meal. Jonathan Pierre, the beer, and TV Ramble will tell you to keep on watching. And as always, cheers.